Hi guys, we are here with Steve Stern. Now Steve Stern, for so many people that know Zen, Steve, you created Zen.
I did, but along with artist Dan Cody, we're the co-creators of Zen.
All right. You put it proper. That's true. Now, Zen, when did Zen actually start up? Because from what I understand, this is 25 years now, which is hard to think that I remember picking up that first issue.
Yeah, it ages us all, does it not?
It does. and take us back to the day where you said, Zen is this intergalactic. Did it start off that way?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story.
Okay.
I was living in New York City. I was writing short comic book stories for these black and white magazines called Creepy and Eerie and Psycho and Nightmare.
And I know just a few of those. Psycho.
And I wrote a one-page synopsis of a story called Zen. And what would happen is you would submit the story to the publisher. Okay. The publisher would show the story to the various artists who would come in and out of the office.
Because they would have a right of refusal, right?
Absolutely. And no one selected that story. The story was given back to me when I left New York City. Many, many years later, when I moved up to the state of Maine, that story fell out of a suitcase that I was unpacking.
Wait, a suitcase that you were... So you had to put it away, literally.
I put it away for
How many years was that?
At least 10 years.
Oh, that's a long time to just put a good thing.
And the suitcase literally fell and cracked open. The piece of paper flew out, and I picked it up and I looked at it and said, wow, that was a great story I wrote. Why did no one ever want to illustrate it? A couple of days later, I'm walking into the office of a new prospective client for my advertising agency, which is what I ran at the time, called Cody's Old Fashioned Ice Cream. And on the wall of Cody's ice cream office is this really fanciful pen and ink line artwork. And I said, that's very interesting, Nancy Cody. She says, yes, that's my son Dan's artwork, and you can have our advertising account as long as Dan becomes the artist for the account. And of course I said, well, that's fine, right? And I loved his work. So a couple of days later I met Dan. We developed a little friendship.
Right.
I showed him that story that had fallen out, and he said, Steve, I want to go into the comic book business with you. And that's how Zen
So you were his break into the comic book industry, and he was kind of your break to get it moving forward even more so.
Because I had stopped writing comic book stories and was making my money doing advertising for furriers and car dealers.
Which is kind of weird because people think now it's kind of the opposite. You make your money in comics, people think, and it's the opposite with advertising. It's limited. But now with licensing and everything, I mean, how has Zen evolved through the years?
Well, the licensing was very critical to our financial well-being because initially, when you sell comic books, it's not going to provide a living to you. It's just some nice side income.
Right.
But we were very fortunate to have two video games, a Game Boy and what was called at the time an NES game for Zen that were made.
Hey, don't make it sound that far. NES, I know Nintendo Entertainment System.
Exactly right. And there was the action figures from Just Toys and the vinyl model kits and the posters and all the tchotchkes, as we say.
Yeah.
So that really launched Zen into a new level of awareness. And over the 25 years since we started publishing this book in 1987, we've sold over 3 million books.
That's a huge record. I mean, people think like 3 million and songs is really big, but again,
an independent comic.
An independent comic, that's a very big number.
It's a good number, and we're very fortunate that now First Comics is our publisher. And
how did that happen? Just First Comics guy, did he come to you? You went to him?
Well, actually, the director of First Comics is a fellow named Ken Levin. Ken has been in the business for a long time. He's a person who has had amazing success. He's, for example, the fellow who took a graphic novel called Road to Perdition that was written by his client, Max Allan Collins, and parlayed it into an A-lister Hollywood movie.
Which, if you haven't seen Road to Perdition yet, I recommend go see it. It did only excellent.
Right, and then what Ken also started First Comics along with some partners back in the 80s. But the company was dormant for many years, and last year Ken reinstituted First Comics, and we were very, very fortunate that one of the first books that he wanted to publish was Zen. So we feel kind of blessed by that.
That's so exciting to be able to get that kind of. It literally has evolved. Is it now? Has Zen gone through any changes, major changes?
Oh my God, has he gone through changes? I'll give you one of the biggest changes.
Okay.
Zen was born in a test tube. He was an experiment, a genetic experiment, and as most of all the fans know, initially he had neither a nose nor a mouth and communicated telepathically.
Which I like that version, by the way. That's the way I remembered him.
Right. However, many years after his creation, as a result of a delayed reaction to the experiment that he was created in,
Zen popped out.
Zen now has a mouth and a nose.
Okay.
Which
that's good.
Well,
I need to hear what kind of banter he has.
He's very banterful, yes, and you will see that in all of these stories.
Let me ask you, how do you, if you had a voice do him for the cartoon, what voice would you envision for Zen?
I always liked Clint Eastwood's voice for Zen.
Really?
I like Ron Perlman's voice for Zen.
Okay.
But it's funny because you mentioned cartoon, but I can tell your audience that there is a Zen live action movie in development.
Did you hear that? Right here. Did you tell anybody else that? Any other outlet?
Actually, no.
This is an exclusive, guys. That's right. You heard it here live with Aaron and Kelly.
That's
so
right.
The movie, I mean, that must be really exciting
yes,
to you.
We do have an actor attached. I am not at liberty to divulge
we
his
can't
name.
We can't talk about that.
But he's been in some movies that you would be aware of.
You would know. I've heard it through the grapevine, but we got it from you legit that this is happening in development.
Yeah.
So now tell me, I mean, you have fans that come up now, and I'm sure, again, Zen isn't mainstream like Spider-Man, like Batman, but those fans that know, like me, when I came up to you and I said, I knew Zen, and I was surprised to meet you, and it was just, in fact, I was going to dig through my comics, but I couldn't find it. But
well, that happens. I can't find my own book either.
But when they come up to you and say, my God, thank you so much for writing that, what do you feel? Well,
it's really gratifying. On the one hand, it makes you feel a little older because now I have fans who come here who bring their kids. They say, Steve, I was a kid when I first read the comic and played the video game, and here's my son, he's 8 years old, right? And so Zen has technically become a multi-generational property, which is really kind of cool.
What I like is that, again, him being, an alien, he literally... alien born through a tube, he has no nationality, or does he?
Well, he is from the planet Baltoon, okay? He is a Baltoonian, although actually he himself does not know that. Because he was pronounced a failed experiment, and a compassionate woman scientist who was in the lab and was supposed to dispose of him sent him out into space in what's called a teapot.
Oh, okay.
And so
I should have known that. Sorry.
So he does not know specifically where he came from. He may find that out one day.
We will have the origin of his way back.
Right.
Pre-Zen.
That's planned for the sequel to the first movie that I've written the treatment for.
Whoa, that's awesome. Okay, so tell me, look, you've got Zen.
Yeah.
What else? Do you think you're done, or what's next for you?
I have another product right here, property called the Frickin' Butt-Kickin' Zombie Ants.
That's awesome.
Thank you. It's kind of awesomely crazy. I love it. And this debuted last year. The book is a constant seller.
Okay.
And so, no, I'm far from done, which
now,
I don't think you're done till you stop breathing.
Well, and then sometimes you still get going. But no, the zombie ants, what are the characters? What are their names?
Their names are Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Nabokov, and Gorky. They're named for... famous Russian authors.
Oh, okay. I was like, how did you come up with that? Did you have a pet or? Okay, got it.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, if you don't know this, and I know you're a very astute man and you probably do.
We'll pretend like I do.
Zombie ants are an actual manifestation in nature they're ants whose brains get infected by a fungi.
Yes, I do happen to know that.
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
true.
There's a
So-
fungi that goes in, and they've even seen it to where, like, after it's dead, the fungi keeps growing.
Keeps
right?
replicating, yeah. And the thing is that when I read this, I said, my God, this is a gift to me. This is a comic book.
That's
Zombie ants.
It's amazing what will inspire you
Yes,
and in what direction. That's
I just
pretty cool.
added frickin' butt kicking to zombie ants, and there you go.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so very much for taking a
Thank
moment
you,
with
Len.
us.
Thank you.
And if you haven't yet, go check out, if you haven't become a fan of Zen Galactic Ninja, right? Galactic Ninja, you have got to check this out. I guarantee you will be pleased by it. 25 years.
Yeah, and running.
Congratulations. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
And
it.
you're watching more of Live with Aaron and Kelly right here at Comic Con.